Hello everybody and welcome back to Lost Planeswalker. You are here with me, Jesse, the Lost Planeswalker, and today I want to talk about Wick, the Whorled Mind. This is going to be a super fun commander deck that I think is going to be more straightforward than a lot of people think just because it kind of does what it does. You're playing rats, baby. So Wick, the Whorled Mind, 3 in a black legendary creature rat warlock with whenever Wick or another rat you control enters, create a 1/1 black snail creature token. If you don't control a snail, otherwise put a +1/+1 counter on a snail you control. So essentially this works like an army trigger, except I don't think they wanted to have army on this card because there's a lot of other really powerful strategies that would make this too powerful, I think, for a rare. Then for a blue, black, and a red sack a snail, Wick deals damage equal to the sack creature's power to each opponent. Then draw cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power. So essentially, you make a snail, you sack the snail, you deal damage, you draw a bunch more rats, you cast a bunch more rats, and you just repeat this over and over. Now, before we get into the main part of the deck, which is just going to be about rat-centric cards, I just want to bring up, if you want to play either Rat Colony or Relentless Rats that cares about you playing as many of them as you want in a deck, including Commander, a great card to add in there is Thrumming Stone, of course. Spells you cast have Ripple 4, and Ripple is a very interesting mechanic that basically says, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. If there's a spell with the same name as that spell, you may cast it without paying its mana cost and put the rest on the bottom. So in a Rat Colony or Relentless Rats deck, there is a chance you can just cast every copy from your deck if you continually hit one of those as you're looking through your deck. So it is very strong, and maybe that's the way you want to play, but if you don't, here are some really cool rats I think you should include. So let's get into that deck layout. We're going to talk about rats. We're going to talk about rat matter cards and some ways that we can benefit from casting those rats. And then, of course, we have the good stuff here. So the best rats I think you can just play in a deck like this are Ashcoat of the Shadow Swarm, Maronar, and our new rat commander I was considering building instead, Ren the Relentless. So Ashcoat of Shadow Swarm, 3 in a black legendary creature rat warlock. When Ashcoat the Shadow Swarm attacks or blocks other rats you control, get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of rats you control. This is insane how big all of your stuff is going to be if you play Ashcoat. That's just the first half though. At the beginning of your end step, you may mill 4 cards. If you do, return up to 2 rat creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. Whether you milled them or not, if they were already in the bin when you milled, you can just take any rats back. So maybe someone's removing your best rats, Ashcoat's just going to be able to get them back, and it's just insanely good. Maronar here, a rat commander staple. You know, both that and Ashcoat are quite expensive cards because they're kind of the rat commanders. But Maronar here, 3 black legendary creature rat rogue with all rats have fear. Now, if you don't know what fear is, it means a creature with fear can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and or black creatures. Basically meaning if you're not playing a black deck or you don't have any artifact creatures, you are entirely just going to get swarmed by rats. In addition, sack a rat, put X 1/1 black rat creature tokens into play where X is the number of rats you control. A Cranko-esque design, basically doubling up the number of rats you have by just sacrificing one of them every turn, seems just extremely good in this deck, being able to buff your snail up an incredible amount every turn just by sacking 1 rat. And then Ren the Relentless, 2 blue black legendary creature rat rogue with ward 2. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. And at the beginning of each end step, create X 1/1 black rat creature tokens with this creature gets +1/+1 for each other rat you control, where X is the number of creatures your opponents controlled that were exiled this turn. So this will just make you rats passively as your opponents take their turns, as their creatures die and then get exiled, whether it's at your hands or your other opponents. And just what a good card here. You're going to have some huge rats just from Ren here that are going to be just incredibly powerful. So next, I want to talk about some big rats because we talked about making a lot of rats. Now let's talk about some big rats. So we have Pack Rat, Persistent, Marsh Stalker, and Turian Mauler. Now I know that last one there isn't actually a rat, but it is a rat. So Pack Rat, 1 in a black creature rat. Pack Rat's power and toughness are each equal to the number of rats you control. 2 in a black, discard a card, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of Pack Rat. So you can just make a ton of big rats that just get even bigger when you use our best rat cards. It's just a no-brainer. It's very cool, and it's going to be very big. We have Persistent Marsh Stalker next, which is a rat berserker. It gets +1/+1 for each other rat you control, and it has Threshold. Whenever you attack with 1 or more rats, if 7 more cards are in your graveyard, you may pay 2 in a black. If you do, return this from your graveyard to the battlefield, tap and attack it. Even if this dies every turn, your opponents are going to have to block it, and if they don't, they're going to take a ton of damage. And then Turian Mauler, 2 in a red creature shapeshifter with Changeling. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may put a +1/+1 counter on Turian Mauler. If you've ever played this card, you know this gets big quick. It's definitely worth including in this deck. So talking about some almost rat cards, we have a couple more here with Bloodline Pretender, Changeling Outcast, and Grave Shifter. Bloodline Pretender, artifact creature shapeshifter with Changeling. As it enters, use creature type rat. When another creature of the chosen type enters under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Bloodline Pretender. A great way we can slowly really grow this up by just having a ton of rats come into play. Changeling Outcast, single black creature shapeshifter with Changeling. Changeling Outcast can't block and can't be blocked. A great way to pump up this creature with our other abilities, making it a big threat that can't be stopped. And then Graveshifter, 3 in a black creature shapeshifter Changeling. When Graveshifter enters the battlefield, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Just a great way to get something back while also being able to cast a rat. So the remaining rats actually in this deck, there's not that many because we talked about a ton of them, is Brunamix, the Rat King, Lord Skitterer's Butcher, Lord Skitterer, Sewer King, Maskwood Nexus, Tangle Colony, and Voracious Vermin. So next is going to be some really good rat support cards, cards that are going to give damage, copy effects, and make a ton of tokens. But before we do so, I would just like to say thank you for watching. Please subscribe. It would mean the world to me. So mass token creation is where we're going to start with, and we have Plague of Vermin, Song of Totentans, and Valley Rockcaller. So Plague of Vermin, 6 in a black sorcery. It's pretty expensive, but starting with you, each player may play an amount of life. Repeat this process until no one pays life. Each player puts a 1/1 black rat creature token into play for each 1 life he or she paid this way. What a great way to have a ton of rats all enter the battlefield at the same time. In addition, potentially draining our opponents down. And of course, we're going to make more rats than anybody, meaning we can just get through and hopefully kill our opponent. Song of Totentans is X and a red sorcery. Create X 1/1 black rat creature tokens where this creature can't block. Creatures you control gain haste until end of turn, meaning if we can dump a ton of mana into this, we can make a ton of rats and just get everything haste swing right in. And then Valley Rockcaller, 1 in a black creature, squirrel warlock with menace. When Valley Rockcaller attacks, each opponent loses X life, and you gain X life, where X is the number of other squirrels, bats, lizards, and rats control. There's no telling how many rats you could have at one single time, and that card might be able to just knock out an opponent just like that. Now, looking at some copy effects, we have Panharmonicon, Reflection of Litjara, and Roaming Throne. Panharmonicon here is a staple card. If an effect of a artifact or creature entering causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, it triggers an additional time. So obviously our commander here is going to double up on those triggers, and that snail is going to get twice as big. We have Reflections of Litjara, which is 4 in a blue enchantment. When it enters, choose a creature type. Whenever you cast a spell of chosen type, copy that spell. Get double the rats we're casting. I will take it. And then Roaming Throne, artifact creature Golem with Ward 2. When it enters, choose creature type. It is the chosen type in addition to its other types, and if a triggered ability of another creature you control the chosen type will trigger, it triggers an additional time. There is no way to tell where this card will get to. I can see it's already up to like $40, which is insane, but it really works in any tribal kindred style deck, so definitely play. So next up, damage. Obviously, ETB triggers are going to be huge in this deck with the amount of rats we're creating. So cards like Goblin Bombardment, Impact Tremors, and Perforos, God of the Forge are going to be perfect. Goblin Bombardment, 1 in red enchantment, exact creature. This deals 1 damage to any target. Very good card. Similarly, Impact Tremors here, 1 in a red enchantment. When a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it'll deal 1 damage to each opponent. And Perforos, God of the Forge, 3 in a red, legendary enchantment, creature, god with indestructible. As long as your devotion to red is less than 5, this isn't a creature. And whenever another creature enters the battlefield under control, this deals 2 damage to each opponent. In addition, it has a pump for 2 in a red, creature control get +1/+0 until end of turn. What a great card. So some of the other Rats Matters cards we have in this deck here are Chittering Witch, Distant Melody, Gnawing Crescendo, Kindred Discovery, Kindred Dominance, Mad Ratter, Ogre Chitterlord, Ogre Slumlord, Patchwork Banner, Rat Catcher, Redcap Gutter Dweller, Shared Animosity, Species Specialist, Swarmyard Massacre, Totentan's Swarm Piper, Urza's Incubator, and Vanquisher's Banner. So lastly here, let's look at that good stuff with Kindred Charge, Thought Vessel, and Whip of Erebos. So Kindred Charge is a new card I actually haven't seen before that I thought was super cool. 4 red sorcery, choose a creature type. For each creature you control of the chosen type, create a token that's a copy of that creature. Those tokens gain haste and exile them at the beginning of the next end step. Incredible. You're already doing good. Cast this, double your board, and just swing in for the win. What a cool spell. I didn't realize that this was even a card, and I'm going to look to play this in more of my red decks. Thought Vessel is just here because you're going to be drawing a ton of cards with Wick, though keeping them all is probably pretty important. And then Whip of Erebos is going to give all of your creatures lifelink. In addition, you can return something from your graveyard to the battlefield. You do have to exile it at the beginning of the next end step, but whatever it is might be enough to help you win the game. So the other good stuff cards we have here is an Offer You Can't Refuse, Arcane Denial, Arcane Signet, Ayara First Locthwain, Chaos Warp, Chromatic Lantern, Commander Sphere, Counterspell, Dark Ritual, Deadly Dispute, Decanter of Endless Water, Infernal Grasp, Jessica's Will, Jet Medallion, Mirkwood Bat, Pitiless Plunderer, Skull Clamp, Soul Ring, and Warren Soul Trader. Now, I did add a few lands in this deck, just the basics, the ones that can tap for any of your 3 colors you're going to need to, but as always, build out the land base however you choose. If you can afford more expensive cards, go ahead and get those best cards. There are a lot of cheaper cards that can hit any color you need, so very good either way you decide to build it. But with that, I would just like to say thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below what you think, should there be more rats in this deck? I think the way that Wick works with just whenever a rat you control enters works great with these mass token rat creation cards, so I think that might be the way to go versus casting a bunch of spells, because some of these cards just allow you to make a ton more rats than you'd be able to cast otherwise. In addition, if you could please leave a like, share this video with a friend, and subscribe, that would mean the world to me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. In today's Scryfall card of the day is Wild Growth. Here in Feyhorn, where Verili's power is strongest, the fort has its own opinion. Lena of the Elvish Council. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you later, Planeswalkers.